your take on it, and have this conversation.
Definitely. Okay, so I mean, there's so much to get into here, and I want to try to put it like in the plainest terms I can. Like, I think that people should be able to identify however they want, but then they need to admit that there is a difference. There is a biological difference between a woman and a trans woman. Like, they are not the same. You know what I mean? Like, you can say they are all you want, but they're not. And so these surgeries, these gender affirming surgeries, are experimental at this point. Like, people are dying. People are having hair growing in their neo vagina. You know what I mean? They have to dilate every day, which is incredibly painful. They're having urinary issues, incontinence issues. You
Yes,
know what I mean? Like, all of these surgeries are so experimental that,
I agree.
like, and I just think that women deserve to have their own spaces away from biological men, because, like, men have used their genitals as a weapon against women for a millennia. You know what
I
I mean?
agree.
Like,
I
a
agree.
penis is a weapon. It can be
Yeah.
weaponized. And I
It
just
doesn't
think
really matter what package it comes in. It really matters about the person who has had a history of abuse and sexual abuse, that sees a person who is a biological male, which, you know, we know that there are two sexes that people are born. We can't deny that. It doesn't change your DNA. If you take a DNA test, you're still going to be a biological male. And
exactly.
I agree that women who have had trauma need to have those safe spaces, where other women are, and not to feel threatened by a biological
Yeah,
male. I agree.
I
I agree.
agree. And I mean, there have been trans people that I've been able to find common ground with. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to use my trans friend as like my token trans friend, but the thing is, he's a trans man, and I respect his identity because he can find common ground with gender critical women who are respectful, but he also can acknowledge that he will always have a female body regardless of what he does to it or how much testosterone he takes or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
Right, and it almost
we
goes the
can
other.
find common ground here, I think, because I've seen it happen. I've had it personally happen. You know what I mean? So I think that, like, we could all find common ground if we just, like, acknowledged reality. You know what I mean?
And not only that though, that's got to be dangerous. Okay, so all the way around, it's dangerous because we have possibly men who are predators that are just dressing like women to go into these spaces to invade women's safe spaces, right?
That does happen. Yeah.
And we have women to men transgender having to go into male spaces, which a lot of men know that a woman is a transgender. And I'm trying to be respectful, but I'm just saying, in the long scheme of things, that's got to not be too safe for the female to male transgender to go into male spaces as well. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, well,
I
think
would
about,
not feel
like,
comfortable doing that. I would feel like there would be somebody who would know and who would cause violence. Men are violent, you
they
know?
are. And what I worry about a lot is prisons, because you see a lot of trans identified males trying to get into female prisons,
Yes.
or, changing their gender identity after they're arrested for a sex crime. And there have been instances of women being raped and impregnated in prison by trans identified males who still have their penises. You know what I
Right.
mean?
I don't think that
And you
that's
don't
okay.
you don't see a huge influx of trans men trying to get into men's prisons because they know it's not safe. So
That's right.
why the other way around? How is
That's
it
right.
safe for imprisoned women to be in there with someone with an intact penis? You know what I
I
mean?
I
It's
agree. And
it's
it's
not
not
safe.
it's not even about the transgender. It is about those people that are using that to hurt other people. We obviously know that rapists and abusers are narcissistic psychopaths that will do anything to hurt people. That's their
Exactly.
fix.
Yeah.
So that's not, I wouldn't put it past them to put on some, leggings and put on some makeup in order to say, hey, I'm transgender and get put in a prison. I think that you need to have the full surgery in order to be in the prisons for a male to female to be in a female prison. I'm
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, like, personally, I don't think it should be. I think that there should be a separate wing in a prison for transgender males, you know what I mean?
I
For
agree, and I
trans
think
identified males. I don't think they should be in women's prisons at all. I think they should be protected from violent men in prison, but I don't think that they should be in female prisons at all.
I
But
kind of agree,
especially
and
if
I
they have an intact penis.
I kind of agree. I mean, it's a little bit harder if it's a little bit harder of an argument if they don't have an attached penis for them to possibly hurt other people. But I think across the board that maybe transgender people need to have their own transgender spaces. And I'm saying that from a point of view where I identify a lot with transgender. When I was younger, I talked about wanting to become a man, and I'm glad that they didn't let me do that because that's not part of my walk. And when I was
Yeah.
older, I realized that that's not part of my walk. And I'm all good. I'm all good about anybody who wants to be adult and to transgender, but I think, or to transition, but I think that these are heavy duty situations that people are dealing with, and um, I think that you need to be an adult in order to
I
deal with
think so
them.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the thing about like puberty blockers, like puberty is what turns you into an adult. You know what I mean? Like, and if you're put on puberty blockers, you will be stuck mentally at the age. You know what I mean? Like people say they're reversible, but they're not. And
It's really
the
hard to reverse it. You almost damage your DNA with all the puberty blockers and then the chemicals that they put in. They almost damaging your DNA because it's not natural. All this stuff
yeah,
should be happening organically and naturally. If it happened organically and naturally, we wouldn't have these problems of these spaces being critical or men competing against women. I think uh, it's controversy at the least, but I've got this conspiratory mind. Of course, I'm gonna bring it back to that. There's something else going on that we're being distracted against, some type of change of power. I can see the pattern of behavior happening in Canada and the Netherlands. It's the same transgender ideology that's happening, and it's just I don't really know why. And the only thing I can think of is communism is on the verge. In communism, they have to. Have you seen that movie, The Great Awakening?
I haven't. No,
You got to watch that documentary, The Great Awakening. It's talking about how communism can come in the form of a lot of this transhumanism, and because they
I've
in
talked to a couple transhumanists, and they have some very, very strange ideas.
Yeah, and it's all about the community and not the individual. It's very communist, and I don't think it really has anything to do with transgender spaces or transgender people. I think it has to do with some political ideology that
I think
is
so too.
happening.
Like you have to wonder what is the reason behind it that it's become such a epidemic among young children to think that they have dysphoria when they don't. You know what I mean? Like I'm
Right.
not saying that like that dysphoria doesn't exist. It does. I know like a lot of my like butch lesbian friends went through a phase of dysphoria
I do. I
and
have
are
dysphoria.
really yeah, and are really glad that they didn't go the route of like transitioning, or
Yeah.
glad that they were born in a different generation when it was allowed to just be a tomboy and be butch. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. It's I I want to support everybody on this. I want to be able to talk to everybody. I want everybody to have their say. And eventually, we've talked about having a panel of debating. And this is like the biggest issue. I don't want to say the biggest problem because I'm anti-war and anti-nuclear war. So I think the biggest problem is that we're on the verge of war, and I worry about that. But as far as socialism goes, we are socially having an epidemic of this division of us.